Hey, Tom here. So look, I've got a webinar tonight. It's going to start in about an hour and 20 minutes. So look, if you're one of these people out there that, maybe you have a couple pieces of real estate or maybe have a couple $1 million of real estate, you want to scale that up or you want to scale up from maybe next to nothing and get to your first million, this is where you start. Okay, look, I have a book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. It took off like crazy. People asked me to mentor after I published that book. That was 5 years ago. Since I've started mentoring, I've got many multi-millionaires, millionaires, 100,000aires, 10,000aires, people all over the place making money of all different types in different places. Hey, Liam, good to see you there. Liam's one of them, actually. Liam's a carpenter like me, by the way. And it's a beautiful thing when you get to see other, your fellow Finnish carpenters or general carpenters and contractors, become wealthy. That's how I actually did it. As I was, building homes. I mean, I'd already bought a bunch of property, but you have these epiphanies along the way, right? The first property I bought when I was 19, somebody offered me $20,000 more for it right after I bought it. That was an epiphany. Wow. 20 grand. I realized how much money I make with the leverage. Then again later, or even before that, buying the thing. I bought it through creative financing, owner finance, 10,000 down, got a long escrow, gave me the time to save the money, and do something I couldn't do. I was 19. I didn't have bad credit. I just had no credit, and I had very little money because I was starting a business. So, hey, Liam, how's your project going? Liam's actually, has been a perfect student. He's made consistently money flipping buildings, then a 5-story apartment in New York, and then most recently he's got a very nice retail center that he stands to probably make at least $1 million on. So it's very real, and it's all real. And you can get into the webinar tonight at 7 p.m. Just go to the links below to sign up. And one of the things I want to talk to you guys about, look, I just bought a property. I actually have one I'm selling for about $5 million, and then I have another one right now that I'm buying for just under $1 million, and I expect to make a lot of money on both. The one I'm selling, I'm going to make a bunch on because I bought it right, and the one that I'm buying, I'm going to make a bunch on because I am buying it right. And that's the key, what you got to do. You have to buy things right. Liam, everything good out there? Let me know. But one of the things, besides the webinar tonight, which again, please go to the links and sign up, get into it. Listen, skip the bar, take a moment to step in for a few minutes. I think you'll be, very pleased to find what you see. All these blue dots behind me, these are all properties that I have personally purchased. Every one of these properties I have owned or still own, and these cover everything. These are houses, apartment buildings, commercial buildings, offices, industrial buildings, commercial strip centers, large acreage, whatever you want to talk about, I can do it. I buy the kinds of properties that we're all surrounded by, the stuff that when you drive to the grocery store or a friend's house that you're going to see. And now I'm perplexed because I'm not seeing anybody in here. Liam, you hear me okay, buddy? I gotta be sure. According to this, we're getting through, right? Anyways. So look, if you go to the links below, like I say, right up here, you can see above my head, flipanythingusa.com/webinar. And you'll see. Meantime, look, what else can I do here? I guess one of the things we can talk about right now is estoppels. Now, if you don't know what an estoppel certificate is, hey Josh, good to see you. If you don't know what an estoppel certificate is, basically an estoppel, it estops. In other words, you're looking to confirm. I'm buying a building right now. It has 5 tenants. So before I close this deal, I want to reconfirm that they understand what their rents are, that they understand, and that they're going to confirm that the rents are what they are. So, one pays $1,500, one pays $3,500, one pays $5,700 a month. I'm going to reconfirm those rents. I'm going to reconfirm the length of the lease. And the reason you get this confirmation from each and every tenant before you close the deal is that you want to make sure that if they have deposits on hold, that those deposits transfer, You want to make sure that there's no written or unwritten agreements that lead to, you know, like in other words, you go to collect your rent, you say, hey, you owe us $2,000, and they say, oh, well, no, I'm only paying $1,500, that was our deal. And you go, no, you're stopped from doing that because you already confirmed that your rents are $2,000. Very important. So Josh, get my readers on here, bud. Just found you. I'm a long time Zuber fan, but I've been digging your content. Yeah, I know Mike. So glad to have you here. Look, Mike is kind of a data-driven guy. He likes spreadsheets, and he likes to predict. He's an article reader, but he's also an investor. He's an article reader and an investor. I'm not an article reader, but I am an investor. Been doing it a very long time, 45 years, and I like Mike real well. You know, he primarily, I think he's just more of a house guy, and he buys stuff a little bit farther away. I'm not like that. Everything I buy, I can throw a rock either direction from where I'm sitting, hit something I own, chuck that rock again, hit something else I own, and keep throwing it, and I will have hit commercial, industrial, office, residential, and even vacant land, all from one rock throw to another, and hit tens of millions of dollars in assets that I own. And this is the kind of thing that I don't think you'll find. You know, I love Mike, he's a really good guy, and but you know what, he has a fair amount of fake gurus on his show. He's not opposed to being friendly with everybody, where I just can't do it. I just can't stomach hanging with fakes. I don't want that association to rub off on me, and but I always enjoy talking to Mike because I believe Mike is the real deal. You know, he doesn't have the same experience I do, but he does have experience, and he does what he does. He seems to do well. You know, I haven't dug into that deep, but he's got a respectable amount of properties, and I just like people that are real. You know, I like real deal. I don't like people that are fake. And especially, you know, it's one thing to say you caught a fish this big, but when you're telling, you know, the people that come into your thing that you got a deal this big and it's not true, that's a problem for me. So Josh, what do you own right now? What are you looking, you know, get in the webinar tonight. Are you going to come into the webinar tonight, Josh? You certainly should. It's going to start in about an hour, and just like you're talking right now, you know, anything you want to know, you say, hey, I'm interested in apartments, you know, and just like that, I'll bring you up. I'll show you apartment buildings that I purchased and made millions of dollars on. If you want to learn something else, in fact, I'll do it right now if that's what your interest is. Those are all apartment buildings, these three. There's 58 units I made a couple $1 million on. You know, whatever it is, you know, like I say, I don't hide from anything. I invite questions because that's what separates me from the fakes, right? That's what separates me from the people that talk big you know, and kind of talk circles and try to talk about anything and everything but their record and or their student success. Yeah, I'm all about it. I may try to check it out. Well, what's your interest in real estate, if you don't mind, Josh? Tell me what you're interested in. You know, I mean, do you own some property now? You know, what draws you to Mike right now, or Michael? Anyways, on these estoppel certificates, I'll just talk about that just for a minute. They're very important in as much as when you're taking over a property, like this building you see right here. This is a building, I actually sold this. I made $1.5 million on this building. Paid $240,000 for it, and I sold it for $1,725,000. It's got a loading dock right there. In fact, I recognize that truck. My tenant's still in that building, my old tenant, because I sold the building. So look, I made $1.5 million on this building, but before I bought it, I got estoppel certificates. In other words, I reconfirmed that the people that were in there weren't as many people there that are there now, but they had to be. We wanted to, you know, reconfirm what their rents are, what their understanding was, so that there's no problem. It's a smooth transition afterwards. And if people say, Tom, why would you sell that building? You know, you made $1.5 million. You're making, you know, $60,000, $90,000 a year. Well, I got rid of this building because I traded up. I took the money from that purchase, and I bought this strip center right here. I bought this one for. I took that 1.7 and I rolled that into the purchase of this building for 2.8, and this building's worth considerably more than 2.8. But also, it has a much higher return, right? Always look for a higher return. You have 3 single-family residences, a beachfront, and 1 commercial property where we have your own business also. Yeah, that's good. You know, that's one of the good things you can really leverage, Josh, when you're a self-employed business person. Uh, you can leverage that. In other words, you can be your own tenant. You can go to buy another property, you know, and you can get a better deal. They want you to own 50% or more. I'm sorry, they want you to occupy 50% or more of the building that you're going to buy. And I've always had different businesses. You know, I still have a decent company. You know, I used to have a machine shop. I've shrunk it down quite a bit because, you know, real estate's always my passion. But that has been a good tool because what I've been able to do is I've been able to be my own tenant. They'll say, you have a tenant? Yeah. Yeah, Tom's my tenant. He's going to pay $20,000 a month. He's going to take, you know, half the building. And now you don't even have to take, a lot of times you can take 30% of the building and still buy it. It's the intention you're going to take over half of the whole building eventually, but it'll get you that better rate, right? Because you're owner occupied now. You don't necessarily have to have the whole thing, but you probably already know that since you've already bought a building of your own. But I have bought multiple buildings one after another, and they'll say, well, Tom, how many locations you got? And I say, hey, I'm trading up, I'm trading up. And, you know, and it's so important to nurture that relationship with the bank too, as that develops. But let's see. Anyways, what else we got here? Stream health looks good. So, I don't know, what do you guys want to talk about? I got 10 viewers here. Woo! Yeah, algorithm. Listen, they do not, listen, if you're here right now, by the way, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Believe me, if you probably just found me, many people just find me and then they binge watch and then they get into the mentorship. They get my book, and you should get my book too, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. But seriously, folks, hit that subscribe button, because you may never have me come up in your feed again. YouTube does not treat me nicely with the algorithm. You know, they reward marketing over mastery, right? I'm mastery, right? I've been doing this 45 years. Nobody comes close to my success rate, personally even, or even to, you know, but students, right? Students, right? That's probably the thing you should be most concerned with if you're looking for mentorship. Is, you know, you can tell a good school by its students, you know. Teachers can be great, but be in a shitty school. So, like, this is my webpage, Flip Anything USA, and what I would tell you is what you want to do is go to the success page and take a look at what success really looks like. You know, I point people to Pace Morby's page and other gurus' pages that claim to be very good at what they do, but when you go to their success page, it kind of says it all. You know, when you get to a success page and it's vague and it doesn't have any details and it doesn't talk about money, and it doesn't talk about particular properties, you know, that's just like pointing to the sky and saying, hey, look at the balloons. When you get into mine, you're going to see real properties, real success. This gentleman right here probably made his third and fourth million on this property right here. He'd already made over $1 million before this. I interviewed him 2 years ago. Now I just did a more recent. I walked through his retail center, and you're talking about a young guy, 34 years old, had his first baby, and he's already got, you know, probably $4 or $5 million now that he's made since getting in the mentorship. And he'll tell you, he's already done it on tape. He'll tell you, if he hadn't got in the class, it wouldn't be happening like it is. Even old guys like this guy, Ken, he's a great guy. You know, he wanted to learn about retail property. Well, I know retail, you know, office, industrial, you know, better than anybody. That's the stuff that I love the most. That's what I buy and hold for myself. And, you know, Ken here, you know, you need to just take a look at Ken.
Everyone listening out there, I highly recommend Tom's course, the mentorship program. I myself have made over $600,000 in a period of just a couple of months. Without the mentorship program, I would have never been able to do this transaction.
So that's Ken, and I love the guy. He's a, you know, fireman, beautiful home, beautiful wife. Wife's a hell of a cook too. I stayed the night at his place. But I want you to take a look at this property Ken got. Take a look at this property. And this is what he came to me for. He sometimes you just lack the confidence to get into an area that's the unknown. And so it's wonderful to have a mentor to say, hey, listen, buy it, or don't buy it, or do this, or do that. When you just, that being able to contact somebody like a lifeline on a game show, right? Hey, what do I do? What's the answer here? But I want you to take a look at this, because this is so beautiful.
What do we have, 4,000?
4,100.
So you have 4,100.
This first property, he got this under 600,000. It's worth $1 million too.
But take a look at this.
And look what it's next to.
He's got an enormous shopping center right next to him, only partially occupied.
And that's what scared him right there at first, is it was boarded up. But guess what? He got this thing for $580,000 and it's worth $1.2 million. He now has an income of about $72,000 a year coming in.
Lush tenant in there, which are awesome tenants for a lot of reasons. They take very little parking, which means there's more parking left for businesses that take more parking. So I love this building right up from the very beginning.
Yes,
And
that's
the
right,
best
yeah.
part is
It does not reward,
we negotiate.
it does not reward genuine, real investors. It really, the algorithm is terrible. But you know what, I'm working to fix on that. And you know what, the way I do it is really, is the success of the students. And as little of a presence as I have, you know, I still do get plenty of students through word of mouth, because people like to talk about the real deal. People like to talk about, when people find me, they're like, this guy's different than everybody else. And you know, the thing that really sets me apart is that I am proud of my record. I'm really, that's probably number one. I'm proud of my record. I have a record. I have a record to be proud of. You know, a lot of the fake gurus, they don't have it. You know, they talk big. You know, I've pointed out a lot of bullshit that I've seen on fake gurus' websites. I've seen them take down their testimonials after I pointed to them. I've seen them change their Facebook, whatever, about me, which really isn't about them apparently, because after I pointed out it being bullshit, they took it down. And so, you know, that kind of stuff, like I say, I'm not a backslapper. I'm not interested in doing the tour of going on to each and everybody else's podcast where everybody tells each other how great they are, and then they pass the clients, the people, you folks out in the public that are looking for information, looking for somebody you can trust and rely on. They violate that trust. They take that trust and they pass you around to be ringed out by somebody selling a business opportunity, or some franchise, or a real estate mentor that specializes in this, another one specializes in that. Send you over to somebody to go get an LLC, or you just get passed around to be squeezed, and I just won't have any part of it. There's not a lot of upselling or anything with me. I'll teach you how to make a lot of money in real estate. I'll teach you all the fundamentals that'll keep you safe, protect you. If you're if you're somebody about to buy property, that's the best, right? Because you've got money, get your pre-qualification letter if you have that. But a lot of people think, well, we're going to start, we're going to take your class after we buy our first home. No, take my class before you buy your first home, and that way you might save $50,000 or a couple $100,000 on your first home. That's why, listen, money is power. Buying, even if you're just qualified for a loan, but you got enough for a down payment, or maybe you're one of these brand new people that are just buying your first property, but they have programs where you guys get a little better deal. And with that in mind, you just want to make your first purchase the best, because if you just become a consumer, you go out there and you pay full price, you're going to be like, the masses are the asses. You don't want to be the masses. You don't want to be that 80%. Or maybe 90% that do all the wrong things, while the 10%, I count myself in that group, right? We're very smart, we're strategic, and we're doing the right things to make a lot of money, but one of them is not paying full price for property, and so you don't want to do that. Somebody wrote here, they'll throw everyone under the bus just to get, it's true, it's like, I mean, I kind of look at some of the real big ones. They're like an anteater. They just, they're just like, if anteater, it sticks its long tongue down a hole into an ant mound, and it pulls out 120 souls. But a lot of these fake gurus, they're going out and they're pulling out 120 wallets, and those wallets are money that's borrowed from kids' parents. Or money that's taken between a couple where the husband said, "Hey, I think this is great, honey. I'm going to run with this." And then they find out they bought, basically magic beans, and then it ain't gonna grow or do anything. And then they don't want to admit it because they got the wife's money involved with it, or they borrowed the money from their parents and they don't want to admit it. So they sit there in a Zoom class where they're losing money, they're not making money, but they're part of a fun community, and they sit there and smile, and they're smiling while they're dying inside. They're smiling because they've already told 10 of their friends to to get in this stupid course. And then their friends are signing in, and so now they can't admit that they screwed up, because to admit that they screwed up is to admit that they misled their friends into something that's not so good either. So it's really a nightmarish scenario, and I don't think I don't think any program, any of you are gonna ever, should, if anybody offers, you know, if people, I don't pay, listen, I don't pay students to referral. I don't pay referrals. It's dirty money. It's the wrong, you know, listen, you're in my class to make money in real estate. I'll teach you how to do that. But some people go into classes to learn about real estate and they find out that what they're being taught is highly improbable, very unlikely, or very unprofitable. And then they find out, they say, well, you know, refer a buddy here and we'll give you 15%. And then they spend their time, they get in this class, and they're so concerned about paying the 10 grand that they, they borrowed to get into, they end up selling out their trust to others and say, oh yeah, get it, it's great. And they make, 10, 15% on 10 grand, do that to 10 people, the fake guru gets, 100 grand, and this guy gets, 10 grand, and he gets his tuition back. In the meantime, again, that's not why you're in this. You're in this to make long-term wealth. Well, listen, rent never sleeps, interest never sleeps. It's the most important thing. And believe me, I always appreciate this when I'm sick. When I'm sick as a dog, I'm always smiling, to be honest, because no matter how bad I feel, I sit there and I am making money. I'm making money while I'm laying there in a sweat if I'm sick. You know what I mean? I got people owe me money, so I got rent making me money, and I got people that owe me money, and and interest is making me money. And so, super important. So look, if you just got here, get in the webinar tonight at 7 p.m. Just go to flipanythingusa.com/webinar. Fill out this little tiny form, and by doing so before the webinar, you'll be sent a link to get in. And I just can only tell you that if you don't take time to do it, you're going to miss out. You're 100% missing out. If you've never seen it, you're going to miss out. And I always tell people, you show me anybody, any guru out there that can show you this kind of purchasing, right? Every one of these properties I've purchased. Every single one of them, each has a unique story. They were bought one at a time. Many of these I bought and I've sold only to buy bigger and better. And it's super important. Somebody wrote, and by the way, my mother passed, and I'm actually using her glasses. She had better eyes than me at 86. Let's see, SKREI. I see most of your time revolves around fake gurus. We'll love to hear your strategies in buying properties, rehabbing, etc. That'll be useful to us. Oh, listen, I've made over 1,000 videos. Dude, there's videos galore. I was cleaning out 2,000-gallon septic tanks. I probably got $200,000 off the property, and I did $6,000 worth of work. And this is really what you want. I'm not only, a super great negotiator, skilled bird dogger. I've been borrowing money, probably $100 million now at least from the bank, and so I've got a lot of experience in a lot of things that that it takes 45 years to get. I've been through eminent domain lawsuits. If you've ever had property taken from you by eminent domain, I have, and I've prevailed. I've gotten more money than most of the other people that gave up too early and gave up too quick. If you want to learn about industrial properties, I can just show you while I'm talking. And this is the beauty, and this is the difference. Like I say, I love to be challenged. I love somebody to say you're full of bullshit, but I like them to stick around to eat their words. This is a retail center. The day I bought this property for 2.1, the next door property sold for 4.2, twice as much, even though they're the same size. Now this one does actually have a little bit of a parking issue, and I'll be fighting the tax authorities on that very soon. Here's another property. This is a school. This was an elementary school the site of an elementary school for like the last 200 years. But again, I bought this school, converted it into a little bit of a retail center. Also has one of the largest food parks in Austin, Texas. Here, I'll show you. Here's another, and look how close everything is. Look, you notice I'm just moving hundreds of feet, thousands of feet. Not across the country. Not saying, hey, why don't 5 of you all pitch in and help somebody with the down payment or the earnest money deposit. So somebody can buy a property that they're underwater on. There's so much stupid stuff out there, and unfortunately, if you don't know, you don't know. Now take a look at this little cluster here. This is a cluster that I've done just in the last 5 years, okay? That's, I think, roughly 18 houses in one subdivision, okay? And not far from that, You know, I bought this property for $2.5 million, this land right here. I flipped 3 houses that I paid a total of $400,000 for. I flipped those 3 houses, made $1.5 million, and I bought this building right here. Now this building here, this is a 16,000 square foot building. I paid $1.6 million for it, and it has a very nice return, brings in about $12,000 a month. And who couldn't live on $12,000 a month, right? In Austin, how's the market today? It doesn't matter, it's the same everywhere. People get listen, Mike actually is one of those guys too that gets wrapped up in the market. He's got his 50-year spreadsheet, which you don't need it. I mean, I tell you, I challenged him on, he's a great guy, and I actually was explaining to him something he wasn't factoring in his spreadsheet. And that was the interest rates were going down while the economy was going down, and that's what was saving it, and that's what I think he was misreading at the time. What criteria do you use for flipping versus holding? Okay, so criteria for flipping versus holding. It's a good question. Listen, when you're, part of it could be even part of what my income is at that time. Listen, I flip anything and everything. Everything is for sale. Now, like this building here, that's a good question. On this building here, I had 3 houses that were bringing in about $4,500 net income between the 3 of them, right? Those houses had gone from about $129,000 to $600,000. Now, they'd been in an appreciating market. I actually bought some of those houses because I thought I'd be selling them to my kids at one time. I have 4 kids. They were little when I bought them. But those properties in that area it was becoming more of an affluent area all the time. Now, my criteria for holding is that you need to be in ascending market. If you're going to hold, the market has to be ascending, okay? If it's not an ascending market, don't hold. I buy property in a declining market, okay? This is what a lot of people are afraid to do. I'll buy a property that's in decline, but I'm going to flip it. In other words, I might buy a property that's $150,000 under market, but and even though the values are dropping $10,000 a month, I'll buy that, $150,000 under market, and I'll resell it immediately for, $50,000 under market, and I still make $100,000. And are you following me on that? You can get the webinar link right there. It's above my head. flipanythingusa.com/webinar. I think I actually put it at the top of this thread here too. But no, listen, I love questions. Listen, most gurus don't like questions. I love them. But listen, I bought a house. I bought 8 houses, I think, in the last 14 months, right? And one of those houses was out here in, I didn't even mark it, I don't think, out here in Round Rock, somewhere out here, and near a golf course. And the reason I didn't keep it is because it's just a little bit further away than I want it to be. Now, I bought 6 houses that I am holding right now because I bought them far under market. They're not declining in value. And I feel that we are on the upswing. I kind of feel like we're at the bottom in my area. It doesn't mean the whole world, okay? I'm talking about in my area. And a lot of people like to get wrapped up and like to look at everything globally. Listen, you're foolish if you're going to try buying globally in different states. You're going to lose your ass. You're not going to make near the money that you would make buying locally. And again, challenge anybody on it. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I don't know anybody. Listen, just even you guys watching, just take a survey. Have you seen anybody that owns as much property next to each other? That's a rock's throw from each other. And keep in mind, I've showed you houses, right? There's a 16,000 square foot office building right there. Still own that. Here's a 4,000 square foot Montessori school. I own that. Here's another 20,000 square foot flex space. Still own that. I had a restaurant over here in 4 houses in a row. And see, look how many and look how close everything is. This is what fake gurus, they can't fake it. They can lie, they can fake it, they can try to fake it. But this is what they don't want. They don't want to be, somebody say, hey, show me what you own. Show me what you've done. I love it. I want to show you what I own. I want to show you what I've done. This little property, I bought this one here, and look at where it's at, right next to a freeway. And guess what? What's great about this freeway? There's an off-ramp coming both directions that drop people onto this. In other words, you come down both sides. There's an off-ramp to get on this street that you see right here. which makes this a highly, you know, a super excellent property because it's technically on both the going home and the going to work side of the road because of the access. It takes you to a major artery. You know, whenever you've got a confluence of arteries like this, you know, that's gold. And then when you have another, you know, freeway, and I'll show you one. So you got this one here, then right here, even though it doesn't really look like, yeah, see here, right up the street from where you get on and off that on-ramp, right here, you got another high confluence, you know, of arteries that take you, you know, northwest, east, and south. Listen, that ease of access, getting from a place to where you work, or where a place people buy things, but it's also convenient for your employees to get home, right? They want to be able to get on a freeway as fast as possible so they can make that trek home and get there quickly. Super important. More questions. Zachy Weak. My big curiosity is, where do you find your deals? Well, it's your job. I mean, that's got to be your job. Listen, it's not one thing. Listen, Zach, I've been doing this for 45 years. There's, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, show you how to do a sub-2 deal, and there's, you know, this is, I think, a quick quote from Pace, 600,000 properties that are, you know, going into foreclosure that are, you know, underwater where there's no equity. Listen, properties that have no equity, fucking ignore them. Just forget it. It's a joke. This idea that just because you're gonna buy a low interest loan or take somebody's position on a low interest loan so you can make a few $100s a month is a joke. It's a joke. One air conditioner will wipe out that couple $100s a month for 4 years, right? There's just so many variables that'll screw that up. It's stupid. In fact, watch the video. I just had interviewed this gal that went to a Pace Morby seminar, and she could see all the holes. She was calling out all of her own concerns. You know, and you gotta really, really be careful. There's just so much. And look at here; these are all properties I own. Well, I probably own a third of these, but I flipped all the others and made money on those. And you know, actually, I got 2 daughters that actually own properties over there too. You know, land. Some people are interested in land, and so look, who's coming to the webinar right now? Who's in here right now that's going to be in the webinar? Just put your name in the chat. I'm going to give you a discount, right? Assuming you make it in there, okay? Listen, I could give my mentorship away. I'm never going to do that ever, but because you got to have sweat in the game. You got to have, you know, you got to have something in it. But if you want to be like my students, and believe me, you do. These guys are, many of the people you see behind me right there, those are millionaires, okay? Not every one of them, but a bunch of them, right? Millionaire in real estate since being in my class. Millionaire in real estate right there since being in my class. Another one, millionaire in real estate since being in my class. Multi-millionaire, all made. I've got it all on videotape. By the way, hundreds of hours. I have hundreds of hours of mentoring now, of things that relate to so many awesome, you know, situations where I've helped a student, you know, rein in something. A lot of times we're not number one in line, and I always tell people, you know, I take more properties away from people that are in front of me, before me. I'm an expert at it, and I'll show you how to do that. But you know, guys like this, you know, a couple $1 million right there behind him, a couple $1 million made right here, almost up to $1 million here. This Shane here made 250,000 roughly in his first 7 months, and 200K. I'm sorry, 200K. And he's made almost 300K since then. So in 2 years, you know, $500,000 is a big deal. You know, Ed, right behind here, Eric made $800,000 on a single property. Okay, and you know, this stuff, you guys might find it hard to believe, but I'm telling you, I'll show you the detail. I'll show you the addresses. You know, I'll let you. You'll meet these people. They'll be in your class with you. That's one of the best things about it. You'll be in you know, not a community of goofballs that don't know anything, that are asking each other, you know, hey, I got $2,000 to go in on an EMD. That's nonsense. That's horseshit. Forget all that stuff. You want to find a property that is so lucrative that is, even if you can't afford to buy it yourself, it doesn't matter. You want to find a deal that, you know, agree to buy it, tie it up, put a little deposit down on it, and now you've got something you have the rights to buy that's worth maybe $1 million more than you're paying for it. Or like in the case of two of my guys from just, I don't know, 5 months ago, 4 months ago, two of my students at completely different states, unrelated deals. One of them got, a property that is probably worth $7-8 million, got it for $2 million. Another one got another one that's almost as much, probably $5 million, got it for $2.5 million. So you got guys that are making now, and this is the beauty of it for me as a mentor. It's fantastic, right? Because they're following my footsteps, but they're getting there a lot quicker. I didn't have a mentor. I had to learn everything the hard way. But when I get to sit here and help, hundreds of people that are in my class, I have hundreds of students, okay? When I can help people that I can relate to, guys like me, I've never really been broke. I've made money since I was 19. But I've had plenty of friends, and I've watched lots of, family members and everybody else. I've seen them go through the struggles of having a job. And, they can calculate what their net worth is going to be in 10 years based on their job income. I can't do that. I know that I'm going to have, whatever, I'll make tens of millions of dollars in the next coming years. And that's not a problem, obviously, right? But nothing would depress me more if I had to sit there and calculate my income for 10 years and realize that I'm still not going to have $1 million. Because $1 million, listen, I was at a comedy store in Los Angeles about 10 years ago, and the comedian was talking about, I had my first baby, and I got this show on Netflix, and everything's going great, and I finally got that that $1 million home that I always dreamed about. And then he kind of chuckled and he says, but I never imagined that when that $1 million home, when I imagined it, I never imagined it being a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, okay? And because that's what the reality is in Los Angeles, in that particular area. So let's see, and I love questions, so keep them coming. I'm looking to buy a house in Austin for investment, primarily for appreciation, neutral. Your standards are way too low, dude. You don't even, you would not even be good for the class if that was your mindset. You have to raise your standards. You don't want to just buy a house for appreciation. I mean, listen, you should make your money the day you buy it. The day you buy the house, it should be worth 30% more than what you paid for, right? Most of the houses that I bought for $270 to $300, and I bought 6 of them in the last 6 months. All of them are worth at least $100,000 to $200,000 more than I paid for them. So you got to raise your standards, because if you keep your standards low, you're going to hit them every time, and you're going to hit them quickly, and then you're going to be tapped out of money, and you're going to be locked into an investment that is appreciating whatever. You buy something, make 20 grand on it, and then sit on it. That's terrible. I'm just telling you. You want to buy something that you got $100,000 equity day one, because that's what incentivizes you to flip it. Flip it, and then take your 100 grand out. Maybe you put 100 grand down to buy something that makes you 100 grand, right? Well, now you made dollar for dollar on 100 grand. That's pretty good, and that's really where you got to set yourself. But listen, you can, if you want to get rich slowly, you can do that too. I mean, I've had many different compartmentalized sets of assets, right? I bought some properties that I thought, I'm going to hold this and I'll develop this and build it. I'm a builder. I'll build stuff with my sons, and then I held that property for 10, 15 years. Realized, you know what? My boys aren't going to build. They're not going to be builders like me. So no sense hanging on to it. So turn it, flip it, get the cash, roll it into buying another commercial building, an industrial building. And here's one of the most beautiful things, and really this is what you really want to hang on to. And please, listen, hit that subscribe button, but more importantly, hit that subscribe because you don't want to lose the channel. Believe me, you're lucky you found me if you just found me for the first time. You may never find me again. But is the webinar tonight. Go to the webinar tonight. Let me show you how I made my first $1 million when I was in my early 20s. I bought my first property when I was 19. So by the time I was 27, I was a millionaire. That's like in 1986, I think, or 1987 or 89. And that was a lot of money back then, right? And but it's all relative. In other words, nothing's changed. I make money the same way today as I did when I was 19 years old, right? That's been 45 years. I'm going to be 64 here in February. So anyways, I can see I'm boring some of you, and this is what's really unfortunate. The ones that are standing here that are still watching, you're perfect. Get in the webinar. There's people that want to have the talent, that want to have the talents to become a millionaire. I mean, they really want to have the traits that somebody like me and others like me, the people in my class, that they want to have those millionaire traits. They want to be doing the right things to create wealth. Then there's other people that are just millionaire voyeurs. I know, I hate to say it. They're just voyeurs, and it's okay. It's okay, fine for entertainment. But you can kind of see it when people, they're interested in watching. Maybe they're happy with their plot in life and the money that they have, and that's fine. But I'm looking for people that aren't satisfied. I want people that want more, because that's what I was. Believe me, I came from a family that had very, very little, lived in a trailer park. My bedroom, okay, was the living room of a single wide trailer. You know, there was one bedroom in the back. My dad lived back there. That was his bedroom. My bedroom was, I had a sleeping bag tucked behind the couch. And, 9, 10 o'clock at night, I'd roll out my sleeping bag on the couch, and that's where I slept. That was a part of my life. But that's what made me want to make more, is having, it was lacking those things when I was a kid. So anyways, so look, again, get in the webinar tonight, and I will show you all these properties, any details. If you want to buy a house in Austin, or you're looking to buy, whatever you're looking to buy, I can give you a lot of valuable input on it. When we get into commercial real estate, that's also, and ultimately, that's what I want for everybody, right? I'll teach you how to start from the bottom. You can flip land and houses till you have enough money, then you can start buying commercial, industrial, office, hold those assets. They'll take care of you beautifully, and then you can, quit your job and then become a full-time investor. Believe me, and that's exactly what's happening with many of my students. And I hope it can happen for you, and I know that it can, but you got to take the step, right? So, I got a book. Don't forget the book. Don't forget to subscribe. And again, the links below are above me too. FlipAnythingUSA.com/webinar. Go do it right now, as long as it's before 7 Central, which right now 7 Central is coming soon, right? Now it's 40 minutes away. So I'm going to get off here because I gotta get a glass of water, and then I'll be back, and I will be just like in this setting with you in a Zoom. But do it now, and I'll send out those links in about 15 minutes. Maybe 10 till 7 or 20 till 7 or something like that, but whatever, maybe 10, 15 till 7, but no matter what, if you just got in here, first thing you do that, get in there right there, go to FlipAnythingUSA.com/webinar, sign up for the webinar, skip the bar, go to the webinar. Listen, I love making friends all over the country like I have been, and you don't see anybody complaining about me. I don't take advantage. It's hard to get in my class, right? If you don't convince me that you're sincere and that you want to make money, and if you don't demonstrate to me that you are an asset to yourself, because a lot of people aren't even an asset to themselves. So if you're not an asset to yourself, then you're not going to get in the class. But you need to be an asset to the class and to yourself, right? And as long as you make that 2 criteria, then obviously you got to have the discipline to have saved enough money that you can afford to pay for me to be your mentor, and still have some money left over to invest. Very important. Some people will tell you they don't care if you got 2 nickels to rub together. They'll tell you to go borrow the money from somebody else or put it on your credit card. I won't do that. I'll tell you flat right now that if you don't have the money, I don't want you in the class. I just don't. I don't. You got to have a discipline to save. If you don't have the discipline to save, you already need to work on something else. Work on having the discipline to save, right? Cut your overhead, do what you got to do, and I'm happy to help those that can help themselves, and look forward to seeing you guys in the webinar tonight. See you soon. You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate? I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, FlipAnythingUSA.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face to face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years.